$300 for one pillow. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sadaf and I love all things home decor and DIY. So I usually spend a ton of time on different home decor websites, just looking at new decor, home accessories, things like that. And sometimes I come across something that I really like, but it's super expensive. And my mind instantly goes to, could I make that? Could I DIY that? So a while ago, I was on McGee Co.'s website. I came across this box. It was very beautiful, but I think it was about $100. And when I was looking at it, I realized I actually had most of the materials that I needed, and it looked kind of simple to me, so I made it. So for my first DIY, I had this metal box frame, basket frame, whatever you want to call it. You can find similar ones on Amazon, I believe, or if you don't have that, I'm guessing you could use like a wire basket or something similar to that. And then I grabbed a wire that was super thick and tried to mimic and recreate the exact shape and size of my frame, and that's going to be our lid. And as you can see, I was really struggling with shaping the wire because it was super thick, but that's actually what you want. You want a wire that has a ton of structure and can hold its shape nicely. Then I grabbed my natural rope. Again, you can find natural rope, seagrass rope, things like that on Amazon. Amazon is the only place that I know that have it. Other places might have it as well. And what you want to do with these natural ropes is you want to soak them in some water first so they're soft and easy to work with. But then if you're going to be hot gluing them, you're gonna have to let them just sit out for, I don't know, like 10 to 15 minutes, just so they're not like soaking wet, and hot glue can actually work on them. So anyways, what I did here was I just hot glued the tip of my rope, and then I started wrapping the rope around my metal frame. And because my rope had some moisture, it wasn't really sticking properly, so I had to hold it with my hand, but just some glue to hold it in place for the start is enough, and then after that we don't really need that. And I was trying to pull and wrap my rope tightly just so I had a very tight and nice and tight finish. And then I just moved on to the bottom of the frame and I covered the bottom as well. After I finished the bottom, as you can see here, I started creating these vertical sections along the sides of my frame, and I made sure to leave a gap in between each section. And to do that, I would just wrap my rope around the frame once and then move to the other side. And then when I got to the other side, again, I would just wrap it one more time and then move to the other side. And because it's a natural material, you might have some imperfections like I did here. You can just cut them off. When I was running out of my rope, what I did was I would just cut my rope towards the inside of the box, and then I would add my new piece to the same place towards the inside, and then add like a ton of hot glue to just ensure that it was nice and secure. That little area is going to be a bit more chunky, but honestly at the end you're not even going to see that. Yeah, I covered the whole box, all the sides. One thing to keep in mind is that you want your vertical sections to be an odd number, and you'll see why later. But here you can see I just started weaving in between my sides, my vertical rows, and the weaving is just going under one, over one, under one, over one, and just repeating this all over the box. here you can see my next row. On my second row where I went under the first row, I'm going over here, and when I went over the first row, I'm going under here, and that happens naturally because I had an odd number. If you have an even number, this is going to happen, and each row is going to be the same as the previous, and basically you're not gonna get this pattern. The last row was definitely the hardest because the weaving was just so compact. I barely had any space to work, but I finished the box, and then I moved to the lid, and I actually decided to try to add wooden skewers, I don't know which one is correct, to just have some more structure, but they actually didn't work, so that was just pointless. As you can see here, I added some hot glue again, glued my rope to my wire, and I started wrapping my rope on top of my wire. This is where the two ends of the wire are. I added some hot glue to keep them kind of attached to each other. It wouldn't really work, but I don't know if you can see here, but I'm actually adding a ton of hot glue and just wrapping my rope tightly on top of that area, just to kind of help keep the ends of the wire in place. And yeah, I just went on to cover the whole thing with my rope again and just repeated the same thing basically. But this time when you're weaving the lid, you just want to be extra careful not to pull your rope too hard, because you can actually end up bending your wire, which is what happened to me. You might be able to see here the middle section of the lid is kind of bending. It wasn't a lot to be like super noticeable, but yeah, you want to keep that in mind as well. So when the lid was complete, I just cut a piece of 3mm MDF. For the bottom of my box, you could use glue as well, but mine just fit there nicely, so I just left it there. And to attach the lid to my base, to my box, I actually just used some jute, and this is going to work sort of like a hinge to the box. And I've made this box like months ago, and I've been using it ever since, and it's been working perfectly. And then you might remember our inspo picture had this sort of like a button, something to be able to close the box, the lid of the box, I don't know. So for that, I just used a wooden box, and again using the jute, attached it to my box, grabbed a piece of leather, made a cut that was the right size for my wooden bead, and just put the other end in between my weaving. For the back side, I just added some hot glue just to be sure it was nice and secure there. And if you remember, our inspo pic was way darker than this, so I just grabbed some wood stain and just stained my box. For the second DIY, there's this account that I follow on Instagram called Decor, I think, if I'm saying it right. I actually really like their work, and they used to have products as well. This one time, again, a while ago, when I was on their website, I came across a pillow. It was very beautiful, but when I looked at the price, it was, I think, about $300 for one pillow. And again, I felt like it would be easy to DIY. It also came in a lumbar, but I don't have a screenshot of that. And when I went to look at their website again, it looks like they don't sell any products anymore, so I don't have a picture of that. But that's what I decided to make. For my second DIY, I actually had some black fabric at home, so I just decided to use that, and I just cut the size that I wanted my pillow to be. Then using a soap, because I didn't have a white marker, I just marked about 8 centimeters, I think. I just found the middle of the fabric and I just measured both sides. This is the area we're going to be stitching and filling in the area, and then I measured a small section on either side. I used a thick thread, cotton thread, and a yarn needle, which has this large opening for thicker threads and yarn and things like that. And I just started stitching on top of the line that I had drawn. Made sure to have like teeny tiny stitches because the inspo had small, tiny and random stitches. One problem that I had with this pillow was that my fabric didn't have like a loose weave, so it was really hard to stitch in between the weaves, and I think the thread was way too thick for this type of weave and fabric, so it would just kind of just create a lot of tension, if that makes sense, and it's more visible when I've done a couple more rows. But yeah, if I were to do this again, I wouldn't change the thread because the thick thread actually created a very nice texture, but I would definitely change the fabric to one that had way looser weave. And this is one row complete, and I just tried to have some areas with bigger stitches and loops and some with smaller ones, and just be as random as possible. And then I'm actually going to be creating lines and just filling this middle section. I realized my fabric was fraying too much, so I just used some tape all around it to stop the fraying, and then I moved to the sides, and the inspo pick had 2 lines on either side, so that's what I'm going to do. And I think you can see what I meant by creating a lot of tension. When I filled the pillow, wasn't very visible, but at this stage you can see it very clearly. But yeah, I just used another piece of the fabric and sewed it to the pillow. It was complete. So I'm thinking maybe this could be like a series on the channel where I DIY expensive decor from different websites. If you like this idea, please comment down below and let me know. Tell me what stores, what websites you think I should do next. And don't forget to thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you again. Bye!